Hey, welcome back for the last little bit of this. Just wanted to get through the last bit, but didn't have time before the 15 minutes ran out. So, back to interpreting statistics. Okay, so looking at this, don't believe everything you read. This is what a lot of people will actually tell you. Sorry, didn't want to listen to that. Anyway, so based on the interpretations we have, let's see what conclusions we can draw from this data. For example, in 1945, the world population was about 2 billion people. In 2005, it was about 6 billion people. I remember, by the way, being a kid because I turned 18 in 2000. So we were really concerned that overpopulation meant the world was going to end. So let's look at this. In 2020, the world population is expected to be 9 billion people. So if we look at this graph, we're going to decide what this means. So what can we say when we look at these data points? Well, the population grew faster in more recent years. Is that true or false? Well, it does seem to be curving upwards, right? The population is 3 times higher today than it was 60 years ago. Well, okay, yeah. The trend implies that the population will continue to grow in the future at faster rates. Well, that's certainly what it says, right? How might this affect the world? There being more people implies that more resources will be needed to sustain them. More housing and infrastructure will be needed to accommodate more people. And an increased population may increase the economy as people create wealth and spend money. So these are all things that we're looking at and we have to try and figure out because if we want to plan for that many people in the future, if it turns out we're actually going to have that many, we really need to make sure we're planning for food, for water, for housing, for all the sort of resources and infrastructure. So now let's go back and look at this. So looking at the original question where we're looking at a track situation. Yes, the track team, the Hawks, had taken first place at regionals. It was the talk of the town. But Dad says, wait, 53%, but there's a margin of error or 5%. So what do you think? Are we going to manage to vote yes or no on this? So if we're polling at 53% with a margin of error of plus or minus 5, what do you think? So when we look at that, we could be between 58 and 48. That's a pretty big margin of error. On the other hand, most of those are going to be in the higher end, right? So more likely than not, we are probably going to, but there's certainly a percentage, a 2% chance here that we are not going to get this track done. So a couple of quick vocabulary words, margin of error, a percentage by which the true number for the entire population may differ. So that's the sort of interval on either side where we're not really sure. It's the squishy part. Time to practice. Use what you've learned on each problem presented below. A job satisfaction survey is taken of 500 people who work in the auto industry. The results are shown in this table. 16% are very dissatisfied, 21% are dissatisfied, 41% are satisfied, and 22% are very satisfied. I'd say this is probably true across many different fields. 1. Based on the margin of error, find the percent range of responses in each category. So we're talking about the percent range of responses. What was the margin of error in this one? It actually doesn't say. Margin of error, oops, sorry guys, margin of error of 2%. Assuming there are 34, I'm sorry, 340,000 people in the industry, what is the range of responses for each category? What conclusions can you draw based upon this data? Votes for prom location. Now this one doesn't affect us, but who knows? Maybe we're looking at someplace from the future. If the school has 420 students planning to attend, what is the percent range and the numerical range of students who would prefer each of the locations? So we have Four Seasons, 40% wanted that. Hilton, 20%. Marriott was 8%, and Holiday Inn was 32%. So if we have 420 students, we would take to find the number who want the Holiday Inn 0.32 times 420, and the same for the rest of them. 5. What conclusions can be drawn on this data? 6. What other information do you think may be important in making the decision? Next story. Almost done. A college newspaper reports the following. Ever since the new volleyball stadium was built at the end of 2005, the interest in the women's volleyball team has grown. In turn, that's made the team go nearly perfect this year. Their current record is 14 wins and 3 losses. Last year at this time, there were only 13 and 4. Come and see the new stadium and encourage the college to build the new football stadium too. 7. What conclusions have been drawn by the writer of this article? 8. Do you agree with them? Why or why not? 9. What bias might the writer have had? So I want you to think about, do you think this happened? Do we have correlation or do we have causation here? Directions. Median house prices for for 3 states are shown below. What conclusions can be drawn from this data? What would be an inappropriate conclusion drawn from this data and why? Oops. And since I can't show you that one, just skip that one. By the way, this one would be a nice one. Look at a newspaper and find some statistics. Or look online. Have them interpret data and the different data displays. Have students present their findings in class. Now, obviously, I can't do that, but I think it would actually be really useful if anyone's looking for some extra credit here to start looking at maybe some of the data around the coronavirus things. What things are people saying, and how are they manipulating the data to say things that are or not true? Oh, wait, here's the median house prices. I just needed the next page. So let's look at the 3, what conclusions can be drawn, and what would be inappropriate conclusions. So here we have 2 different years. We can see that year 2 is higher in every case, does by a lot in some cases, by a little in others. We can start to sort of make some conclusions. So I'd like you to draw at least one conclusion and say at least one thing you shouldn't draw from this. Hope everything's going well. If you guys do need any help, please feel free to reach out. I miss you guys so much, and I am so proud of all of you. Talk to you soon.